Who pitched the Killer Bees to you?
Um, actually, I was when I left the second time from New York. Um, I was a Florida heavyweight champion, and I just lost the title. And I was wrestling Rick Rude. I had gone into a program with Rick Rude, and God, it was a hot program. I mean, we were selling out all over. And Hulkster called me up and said, "Hey, um, Vince is creating a tag team division, and he wants to team you and Jim Brunzel up. I don't know if you know Jimmy." I said, "Oh, I saw him from magazines and stuff, but I didn't really know Jimmy." And Terry assured me he was a good guy. He was in the AWA with him, and I remembered the high flyers, the magazines, and so I was supposed to. I gave my note. I had already given. Then I gave my notice because they gave me a date, and I was on my way to West Palm. I mean, Fort Myers, and had a flat tire, and we didn't have cell phones then. I just, I was pretty beat and frustrated. And anyway, we had the numbers to the building, so I walk up, and somebody winds up giving me a ride. And halfway after I walked halfway, and the guy gave me a ride up to the little gas station off the interstate there. And I immediately went to the payphone, called the building, and told Mike what the phone number was. So I waited there by the phone. He calls me. He goes, "Oh, Brian, where are you at? Where are you at?" I said, "Still an hour. I should be there, getting close to the time where you're supposed to be there an hour before the matches start." And I said, "Well, Mike, I got a flat tire, man. I'm about 60 miles away or 80 miles away, whatever the thing. I'm going to be late." I knew I was on last anyway. So he said, "Oh man, you've got to be here." He said, "There's more people outside than there are inside, than there is inside." And he's telling me, "I'm going to come get you." I said, "No, no, no, I'll be there, be there." And, terrible mistake. To this day, I feel bad about it. I just finally got my tire fixed. I would have been getting there, and had to rush. And I said, "Well, I'm just going to leave and go to New York." And I did. And, you know, Mike was really hot with me for a while, but he got over it. We actually became business partners after that and the project. And anyway, that's life went on. I went to meet Jim in Brantford, Ontario, Canada, and George Scott came up to us and said, "We need some kind of flashy name." And I, he just said a flashy name, and for some reason I always loved that '84 Dolphins undefeated, the Killer Bees, the Baumgarten, and all the Bonnet-Connie, the linebackers, the Killer Bees, and Brunzel. I thought Brunzel, Blair, and I said Killer Bees. What about Killer Bees? And Brunzy liked it, and Killer Bees, yeah. And so George hadn't even left the room. George Scott, because George Steele was there too, the George the Animal Steele. And George Scott comes back, and we said, "How about the Killer Bees?" "Killer Bees, Killer Bees. I like it. Let me go check with the boss." He finally comes back, and he says, "You guys are the Killer Bees." When he did that, Lanny Poffo reached in his big hockey bag he had that looked like he had a house in it, and he pulled out these Killer Bee masks. Killer Bee trunks, no masks, just the trunks. And so we became the Killer Bees there in Brantford.
Were you okay with teaming with Jim? Would you have preferred being a singles? Because when I had Jim on, Jim said that he was with Greg Gagne for years. He really wanted to be a singles, but he was making his money in tag, so he was. I mean, he was fine with it. Were you okay with becoming a tag team?
Yeah, I was, but it wasn't my intentions because Vince told me I was going to come back and work for the Intercontinental title. And so that was my intentions. And then when I got hit with the tag team thing, I needed some guarantees before I came in there. A, where are we going to get the belts? B, uh, how are you going to use us? Where is this tag team fit in? And at that time, they planned on running 2 and 3 towns. So we were going to be main eventing one of the towns, and or semi-main eventing one up at the top, and where we would make good money. So, that part all came true. And, again, for some reason, the tag team belts kept eluding us. We were in WrestleMania 2, WrestleMania 3, WrestleMania 4, the big event, the first Survivor Series, the first Royal Rumble. We won the Jack Tunney tournament. We did all kinds of stuff, and still, no belts. And even though they give you the belts, it's not like you go out like Kurt Angle did and win a gold medal. You just from preservation, preservation, hard work, dedication. You still do all that stuff, but you're um, winning a trophy, you're actually, or a prize, you're actually winning it. It means you're the best at that time. Whereas, winning a belt, that person that gets the belt might not be the best or at the time. They may do it because they need a belt to help get them over at the time.
Right.
George Scott and them said, "You guys don't need the belts. You're over. You're over. The money's in the chase. The money's in the chase." They kept telling us that. And once you win the belts, it's gonna fizzle. I'd say no, 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 because you gotta make the people believe, George. You gotta make the people believe that you're gonna win the belts. Let us win the belts, even for 6 8 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever, and then let somebody screw us out of them, and we'll go chase them. And that's how I've always, been taught in the business. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we're gonna get them on you. We're gonna get them on you. It's just didn't happen.
When you said you were promised the belts, were you going to beat the Hart Foundation?
We're going to beat the Hart Foundation for the belts. Yes. Um, I think the other time was with Greg and Brutus. So was it Greg and Brutus maybe? And I forget the third time. Who had the belts at the time? Demolition maybe. Um, but the Hearts were the big deal. I mean, we used to have such good matches. I mean, we had such great chemistry with the Hearts. Those were my favorite tag teams ever, ever, ever. I mean, we had some tag matches that were just incredible for the day. I mean, it's hard to compare, wrestling in the 80s and 90s versus early 80s, 90s through the 80s, let's say the decade of the 80s and even halfway through the 90s until it really tag team started evolving more, with the Dudleys were a big deal in evolving tag teams and with tables and chairs and things like that when we weren't allowed to do those kind of things. um, we were definitely the hottest team on the planet at one time, and there's absolutely no doubt. I mean, we were selling tons of merchandise. We were selling everything, from uh, Circle K cards to being in Cracker Jack boxes to T-shirts, action figures, everything. I mean, we did Toyota commercials. We did wrestling commercials, merchandise commercials. We did a lot of different things. It, we wound up, Jimmy and I, in the Iowa Hall of Fame, and I still think, even though we didn't have the belts, that we deserve to be in Vince's Hall of Fame. And but as you know, there's a lot of people there that don't deserve to be there, and a lot of people that worked. I mean, I spent over 6 years of my life at that company working hard, and Jimmy did too. So
What about that match you had with the Hart Foundation on Saturday night's main event? That was a tag team masterpiece.
thank you, thank you. Yes, I'll never forget that. It was in L.A. and that was a heck of a match. We did mass confusion. I mean, we beat the Heart so many times. I mean, that people knew that we were winning the belts. I mean, they just knew it, and it was just always something. So, you know, uh, again, a couple of those three occasions were now that I think of it, were just with the Hearts, and so it's water under the bridge. You can't cry about it now, but you think about, Mike, how much money they could have made just with masks, selling
Oh yeah.
merchandising in
Oh
masks.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, they could have made a boatload of money with masks, just a boatload of money. But anyway,
Brian, I could talk to you for the next 2 weeks. We haven't even scratched the surface of your great career. If someone wants to learn more about your career, is there something they should pick up anywhere to learn
Absolutely.
about the man
Absolutely. Oh,
himself?
yeah, man, this is a, I'll tell you what, everybody that's read this book, truth be told, honestly, everybody, I mean, go to Amazon and look, and sell it on my own website, or Amazon. And I mean, I've said it before, I'll give you twice your money back if you don't like it. I'm gonna ask you a few questions to make sure you read it, but nobody's ever said they didn't like it. I mean, it's just, Ian Douglas is an incredible, I mean, Steve Kern's books are great. He's just coming out with his second one, and the books Ian Douglas does are fantastic. The guy's brilliant, and
What is your website, Brian?
my website. Well, I didn't talk about the Cauliflower Alley Club, so that's my website. Go to caulifloweralleyclub.org because that's what I live for right now. Besides my family is, and my good friends and the good people of this world is my colleagues. And so I work hard at the Cauliflower Alley Club, and you can go to caulifloweralleyclub.org, and for $35, you can become a member. And that's so important to me because, we help so many of the wrestlers. And I've been the president and CEO for over a decade, and we have just grown by leaps and bounds. I mean, we just had an unbelievable reunion. And if you haven't been to a Cauliflower Alley Club reunion, you have no idea what you're missing. So, uh, caulifloweralleyclub.org. My personal website for the Killer Bee store is the killerbees.net/store.